The man earns well. He always has. Yet he cannot keep money in his account for more than a few days. Something inside him needs to spend it, to see it disappear, to return again and again to the edge of nothing. He tells himself it's a discipline problem, a weakness, a flaw in his character, but character has nothing to do with it. What he's fighting is code, programming, instructions written into his mind before he understood what money even was. And until he sees the source code, he will keep executing the same program, wondering why he cannot change. Today, we examine the hidden programs that govern your relationship with money, not the surface behaviors, the architecture beneath them, the beliefs you never chose but carry everywhere, the scripts that run automatically, silently shaping every financial decision you make. And we will learn how to rewrite them. In the field of financial psychology, Brad Klontz identified what he calls money scripts, deeply held, often unconscious beliefs about money formed in childhood that continue to drive behavior in adulthood. These are not casual opinions, they are psychological infrastructure, the foundation upon which your entire financial life is built. And most people never examine them, never question them, never realize they are operating from programming installed by someone else in circumstances that no longer exist. Most people never notice this because it feels like common sense. There are 4 primary scripts, 4 distinct patterns that researchers have mapped across thousands of individuals. Each one carries its own pathology, its own suffering, its own trap. But before I name them, do something. As you listen to what comes next, notice what part of your body reacts first: tightness, relief, resistance, discomfort in your chest or your stomach. The one you reject most strongly is often the one that owns you. The first is money avoidance, the unconscious belief that money is corrupt, that wanting it is shameful, that people are morally compromised. This script often develops in children who witness financial conflict, who absorb messages that money destroys relationships, who learn that desire itself is dangerous. These children grow into adults who earn income but cannot keep it, who sabotage opportunities of advancement, who feel guilt when they succeed financially, not because they are self-destructive, but because their nervous system has been conditioned to associate wealth with threat. The second script is money worship, the belief that accumulating more will solve everything, that the source of happiness is always $1 more away. This forms in environments where money was scarce, where struggle defined existence, where the implicit message was, if we only had more, everything would be different. The child internalizes this equation: money equals safety, worth, love, and becomes an adult who chases endlessly, who achieves financial success but feels no satisfaction, who cannot rest because the equation never resolves. More is never enough when the real hunger is for something money cannot buy. The third script is money status, the fusion of self-worth with net worth, the belief that you are what you own, that value must be visible, quantifiable, and displayed. This develops when approval was conditional, when love was transactional, when the child learned that their worth depended on external markers of success. The adult version works obsessively, sacrifices relationship, hides financial struggles even from intimate partners, because to admit financial limitation is to admit personal inadequacy. The shame is total, the secrecy is absolute, and the cost is a life spent performing rather than living. The fourth script is money vigilance, hyper-awareness, constant calculation, the inability to ever feel secure regardless of resources available. This emerges from environments where money was unpredictable, where stability was temporary, where the lesson was never trust abundance because collapse is always imminent. These individuals save compulsively, spend reluctantly, live in perpetual preparation for disaster. Their nervous system never leaves threat detection mode. Even with substantial wealth, they feel impoverished. Because the feeling is not about money, it is about safety. And safety for them was never truly learned. Notice what your body did when you heard that. Research published in the Journal of Financial Therapy shows these scripts are transmitted intergenerationally. Your parents did not just teach you about money through explicit lessons, they taught you through their anxiety, their arguments, their silence, their behaviors you witnessed before you had language for what you were seeing. A mother who hoards, a father who spends recklessly, parents who fight about finance behind closed doors while children absorb the emotional frequency of fear and shame. These experiences encode themselves neurologically. They become your baseline, your normal, your unconscious instruction set. And here's what makes this particularly insidious. These scripts operate below conscious awareness. You do not think, I believe money is evil, therefore I will sabotage this job opportunity. You simply feel resistance, discomfort, a vague sense that pursuing more feels wrong, though you cannot articulate why. The script executes, the behavior follows, and you remain unaware of the program running your life. The danger isn't the belief, it's that it feels like truth. The neuroscience clarifies this mechanism. When researchers examine how the brain processes financial information, they find activation in reward centers, the same regions that respond to food, drugs, and other survival-related stimuli. This is significant. It means your brain does not treat money as abstract. It treats it as a primary reinforcer, as something linked to survival at the most primitive neurological level. Studies conducted at Princeton reveal that scarcity fundamentally alters cognitive function. When people experience financial scarcity, their dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, reasoning, and executive control, shows reduced activity. Simultaneously, the orbit of frontal cortex, associated with immediate reward valuation, increase activation. The brain shifts from strategic thinking to survival mode, from long-term planning to short-term grasping. This is not a moral failure, it is a neurological adaptation to threat. Your brain did not fail you, it adapted perfectly to a world that no longer exists. This explains patterns that appear irrational from the outside. The person who grew up in poverty and now, with stable income, still makes impulsive purchases, still struggles with delayed gratification, still cannot plan long term. Their brain was wired in an environment where waiting meant losing, where opportunity was fleeting, where you took what you could when you could because tomorrow was uncertain. That wiring remains. The environment has changed, but the nervous system has not updated its programming. What if this is not irresponsibility, but trauma? Financial trauma. Not a formal diagnosis, but a lived reality for millions. The emotional, cognitive, and psychological distress that arises from threats, real or perceived, to financial security. It shares characteristics with post-traumatic stress disorder, hypervigilance, avoidance, emotional reactivity, intrusive thoughts. It can stem from poverty, yes, but also from sudden job loss, from bankruptcy, from financial abuse, from growing up watching parents destroy themselves and each other over money. And here's the cruelest aspect. Financial trauma often creates behaviors that perpetuate the very circumstances that cause it. The person who avoids looking at their bank account because it triggers anxiety ends up with overdraft fees and mounting debt. The person who hoards money out of fear of scarcity misses opportunities for growth. The person who overspends to feel in control loses control. The program runs itself, feeding the trauma, deepening the wounds, creating a cycle that feels inescapable. If this feels uncomfortable, stay with it. But there is something you must understand. These scripts, these programs, these neural pathways carved by trauma, they are not permanent. The brain that learned these patterns can unlearn them. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. What was wired can be rewired. What was written can be rewritten. This is where the work begins. This is the part no one tells you. You do not need all of this. You need one entry point. Awareness first, regulation second, behavior last. The first step is awareness. Not surface awareness, I'm bad with money, but deep structural awareness. What are your actual beliefs about money? Where did they originate? When you think about wealth, what emotions arise? When you spend, what are you really purchasing? Security, identity, distraction from something you do not want to feel? Create what financial therapists call a money autobiography. Write your earliest memories involving money, not the facts, we were middle class, but the feelings, the tone, the unspoken messages. Did your parents argue about finances? Was money discussed openly or hidden? Did you feel secure or anxious about resources? Were you given money freely or required to earn it? What did you learn about people who had money, about people who did not? This is not casual reflection, this is archaeology. You are excavating the foundation of beliefs you have carried for decades without examination, and what you find will likely surprise you. The script you thought was your own often belongs to someone else. Your father's shame, your mother's fear, your grandparents' depression-era scarcity programming, passed down like inheritance. Once you see the script, you can challenge it. This is where cognitive behavioral therapy becomes essential. CBT teaches a simple but profound practice. Examine the thought, test its validity, replace it with something more accurate. If you catch yourself thinking, I will never be financially secure, pause, ask, what evidence supports this? What evidence contradicts it? The thought is not truth, it is a belief, and beliefs can be questioned. Most people discover their financial beliefs do not withstand scrutiny. Money corrupts, assumes all wealth is acquired unethically, demonstrably false. I'm terrible with money, ignores the fact that you have managed to survive, to pay bills, to make decisions that kept you alive. The belief is not accurate, It is a story you have been telling yourself, usually inherited from someone who told it to themselves, who inherited it from someone before them. Narrative therapy offers another pathway. It reframes your financial history as a story with chapters, characters, themes, and stories can be edited. You are not your financial past. You are not the mistakes you made. You are not the circumstances you were born into. Those are events. They happen to you. They do not define you. The power of narrative therapy lies in separating your identity from your history. You can honor what happened, acknowledge the impact, and choose a different story moving forward. What happens next is where most advice fails. For trauma that lives in the body, and financial trauma always does, somatic approaches become necessary. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, helps the brain reprocess memories that remain emotionally charged. The eviction notice, the parent crying over bills, the bankruptcy, the moment you realized money was something to fear. EMDR does not erase these memories, it strips them of their visceral intensity. The event becomes something that happened, not something that is still happening in your nervous system. Because your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. The tightness in your chest when you think about debt, the shallow breathing when your bills arrive, the way your stomach clenches with financial stress. These are somatic markers, physical signatures of unresolved trauma. And until you address them at the body level, cognitive work alone will not create lasting change. Polyvagal theory, developed by Stephen Porges, explains this through the lens of the autonomic nervous system. You have three primary states: ventral vagal, the state of safety and connection; sympathetic, the state of mobilization and fight or flight; and dorsal vagal, the state of shutdown and collapse. Financial stress pushes people into sympathetic activation, anxiety, hypervigilance, racing thoughts, and dorsal shutdown, numbness, avoidance, dissociation. Healing requires learning to return to ventral vagal, to a state where you can engage with financial information without triggering survival responses. This requires regulation practices, breath work that signals safety to the nervous system, grounding techniques that anchor you in the present rather than the traumatic past, mindfulness that allows you to observe thoughts and sensations without being consumed by them. You must also expand what therapists call your window of tolerance, the range of stimulation you can handle without becoming overwhelmed. For someone with financial trauma, that window is often narrow. Opening a bill triggers panic. Checking bank accounts causes shutdown. The work is to gradually, incrementally expand that window. Look at your account for 5 seconds. Breathe, ground, do it again tomorrow. 10 seconds. Breathe, ground, build your capacity slowly. Do not force yourself into overwhelm. That only re-traumatizes. You are teaching your nervous system that money is not danger, that you can engage with financial reality and remain regulated. This process requires repetition. Neuroplasticity is not instantaneous. You are building new neural pathways through consistent practice. Each time you budget from values rather than fear, you strengthen the new pathway. Each time you make a financial decision consciously rather than reactively, you weaken the old pattern. Change is not dramatic, it is cumulative. It is the result of small choices, repeated hundreds of times, until the new way becomes automatic. Work with professionals who understand this intersection. Financial therapists exist. Therapists trained in financial trauma exist. They can guide you with expertise and without judgment. They understand that your financial struggles are not moral failings. They are symptoms of wounds that deserve care, and recognize the limits of individual healing. Your financial trauma did not originate in a vacuum. It emerged from systems: economic inequality, predatory lending, wage suppression, generational poverty. These are structural issues. Your healing is yours to pursue, but the conditions that created your wounds are collective. Individual therapy cannot solve systemic problems, but it can help you survive them. It can give you tools to navigate a system that was not designed for your well-being. The man who cannot keep money in his account? He traces the pattern back, discovers his father lost everything in bankruptcy, discovers he absorbed the unspoken belief that accumulating money means it will be taken away. Better to spend it first, better to control the loss. He sees the script, questions it, begins to build new behaviors. Opens a saving account, leaves $50 untouched, watches his anxiety spike, breathes through it, leaves it another day, another week. The pattern begins to break, not through willpower, through awareness, through compassion, through the slow work of teaching his nervous system that safety is possible. This is the work, unglamorous, gradual, real. The kind of work that changes lives from the inside out. You are here because you recognize something, a pattern you cannot quite name, a sense that your financial behaviors are not entirely your own, that you are executing code you did not write. And you are right. But recognition is the beginning of choice. Now that you see the program, you can debug it. Now that you understand the source, you can rewrite it. Your relationship with money is not fixed, it is learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. The scripts can be rewritten. The neural pathways can be rewired. The programming can be changed. It begins with one question: where did this belief come from? And it continues with one practice, choosing differently again and again, until the new choice becomes the default, until the old script loses its power, until you are no longer executing instructions installed by someone else in circumstances that no longer exist. The chains are invisible, but they are not permanent, and the moment you see them, you can begin to break them. People who reach this point are already doing the work. The subscription is not support for the channel, it's a signal to yourself. If this resonated, if you recognize yourself in these patterns, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more investigations into the hidden architecture of the mind, and understand your financial struggles are not evidence of failure. They are evidence that you survived something difficult. Now it is time to do more than survive. It is time to become free.